Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Secretary Roque, Vice President De Castro, other cabinet members, Congressman Gunigundo, business leaders, labor leaders, ladies and gentlemen. We've just been around the world in 8 days, Peter and I. And compared to many parts of the world, we can truly say that we in the Philippines have weathered the worst of the global crisis thus far. This is because we rebooted our economy several years ago. We took our economic medicine through fundamental reform by raising taxes, cutting down on smugglers, and reforming our tax collection system and banking laws. Our reform moves have paid off with revenue for investments in human and physical infrastructure. I think you all recognize that it only takes about half an hour by car now from Monumento to Clark using the North Luzon-Clark Expressway, and that you can travel by car from Apari to Jolo, island hopping on our roll-on, roll-off ferry nautical highway system. We are likewise investing unprecedented amounts in expanded social services. As a result of our investments, our GNP grew 8% in 2007. And in 2008, when 2/3 of the world went into recession, our GNP still managed to grow by 6%. Nonetheless, this is a time when government, business, and labor must join hands against the global crisis so that it does not become a crisis in the Philippines. In doing this, we must not neglect those who feel the hardships of the global downturn, especially firms under strain and workers facing layoffs. We are here to follow up initiatives from the tripartite meeting 2 weeks ago with specific measures and actions on concerns raised. So may I therefore review some of the concerns raised 2 weeks ago as summarized to me by Secretary Nitoy Roque and give some of the responses to those concerns. Number one, SSS to condone penalties and surcharges on loans of affected workers. In response to this concern raised 2 weeks ago, SSS is already implementing such a program for 1 year. Number two, DOLE and OWA to establish a standby fund for displaced seafarers and land-based OFWs. As a matter of fact, a program is being carried out to help expatriate workers who might return home from their host countries that are now being buffeted by the economic crisis. This program is being made available as well to workers being laid off in export-oriented industries. The DOLE is the lead in carrying out the government's program for the returning expatriates and the retrenched export workers. The first component of this program is an expatriate and export workers livelihood support fund in the amount of 1 billion pesos, financed by OWA for the OFWs and supported by government lending institutions such as the Development Bank of the Philippines, the Land Bank, and the SB Corporation. Displaced expatriate and export-oriented workers can access the fund to help capitalize startup businesses or finance further studies and training. I have told Secretary Roque that the rules and mechanics of accessing to this money must be simple and hassle-free. Returning expatriate workers and retrenched export workers should not be subjected to irrational rules and red tape. Number three, implement training programs, training interventions specifically targeted for workers displaced as a result of the global financial crisis at the community level. And Secretary Boboy Sihuko and I have been talking And TESDA will do this starting in Calabarzon, then Subic, Clark, and Mactan. 2 weeks ago, one area that was suggested to be explored is the TESDA and its accredited training institutions tap as trainers, skilled workers, both local and OFWs who have been displaced either permanently or temporarily. And TESDA will specifically seek inbound returning workers and domestic retrenched workers with experience who will become trainers of TESDA. Number 4, reduce the cost of doing business. One suggestion given 2 weeks ago was to provide fuel subsidy to firms operating in the export processing zones that transport their workers to and from the zones. Another is to lower the cost of business licenses and permits. Secretary Fabila, who was with me in the trip, instructed PESA's Leah de Lima to implement the fuel and transport subsidy. Right, Peter? And the forthcoming standardization of the city business registration and permit process in Metro Manila, which will be launched on the 18th of February, I believe, during the meeting of the League of Cities of the Philippines, will also reduce red tape and therefore the cost of doing business. In addition, due to difficulties currently encountered by some firms in accessing credit from the private banking sector, the government financial institutions will provide loan facilities such as working capital to credit-worthy firms. We have requested the BSP also, through the national government's representative in the Monetary Board, Trade and Industry Secretary Peter Fabila, to provide liberal terms for rediscounting windows and allow the banks, particularly the GFIs, some flexibility on regulatory financial ratio compliance. Number 5, stimulate domestic production and product demand and consumption by addressing smuggling. Our anti-smuggling task force has been working hard on this. I asked business and labor to join the task force, and we have here in front Jess Aranza of the Chamber of Philippine Industries, whose very mission is to help stop smuggling. And I reiterate my instructions that the Chamber of Philippine Industries, as well as the PCCI, should be an integral part of the task force.